Oops. Suppers. No, it's gonna be I haven't even streamed anything in a while, so it's just gonna be very open format tonight, very light. I fully admit that all kinds of stuff in the news got me angry this week. It's just been a crazy couple of weeks for the Biffster. We'll get started here in just a few minutes, so. Nobody gets in without me noticing. Nobody. I was reading through this documentation. Let's blow this thing up here. Like, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do with stream avatars. You can actually like gear them up and create stuff and make them fight in duels for gold. And I mean, it's like a whole game in that thing. It's like a game within a game. I gotta read more about it and start learning some of that stuff. I don't know if you read or not, but Blizzard, I guess, reduced the ban on Blitzchung, the guy that, got banned and all his winnings taken away, the Hearthstone player. I haven't seen what the reduce was, but they definitely caved. The story that just came out on IGN about that. See if we get a couple more people jumping in here, but I'm just gonna get started and start chatting away. Again, we'll keep this real light, open format tonight. A lot of stuff has happened since I've even streamed or looked at any market stuff. I was jamming out a bunch of charts today, just stuff that people were asking about and stuff that's in the news, stuff that people were talking about. Just, this is a whirlwind of stuff going on in the world right now, so very tough to keep apprised of all of the news. But I'm going to try to keep it just to, markets, stuff that's relevant to us, gamer, nerds, and then obviously my cryptos. But if you guys ever want, me to pull a chart on anything, like, stock, funds, anything you're looking at. Be happy to do that. Provide that too. Sometimes it's nice to get some unbiased feedback. Welcome. Welcome. Breathe in, breathe out. You know, we made it through another week. It's Sunday night. It was a good day of football today. Had a good weekend today. We had some good weather. Got out with the family. Posted a few pictures on Twitter. Got on the pumpkin patch. That was nice. Doing a little Halloween. If you're not familiar with pumpkins or you're not in the United States, that's definitely a popular thing to do here and very American. So it was nice to get out and smell the sunflowers, so to speak. Get out there in some fresh air and a little exercise and just some good times. So it was nice. It was nice to deflate a little bit considering the whirlwind of stuff that was going on in the media and news, some of which I have on my screen at the moment. So if you're not familiar with that, obviously we're gonna, you know, I'm a gamer. A lot of gamers on Twitch, obviously. So we're gonna stay, you know, keep those topics that are relevant to gaming on the show and talk about them as well. But if there's anything, you know, regarding the topic you want to chat about or something else you want to, you know, post a link, whatever, feel free. So especially now while we're keeping our you know, our sessions pretty small. Timing and days are going to be random. Yeah, the 8s still work well for me, 8 a.m., 8 p.m. And if I do the 8 a.m., that's, you know, around noon Euro time. So that's probably going to be the ones we'll shoot for because those are the best for my work schedule. Weekends, I don't know. We'll see, but you know, turn the notifications on if you want to jump in. And obviously, I appreciate all the support, guys that have, you know, jumped in and followed and given me lots of awesome feedback on videos. I'm keeping most of it, you know, to Twitch now, but I would like to, you know, start actually making some videos and editing some smaller pieces and putting them on YouTube and stuff. So again, I appreciate the follows and all that good stuff. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or concerns about any of the stuff we look at. Remember, you know, any of the trend analysis or markets information that we're pulling up or charts, you know, any of that basic how-to 101 stuff, I'm happy to, you know, just kind of stop and look at slowly, because if you have a question, there's probably a good chance that someone else watching has a question. So there are no bad questions, right? The only ones that are bad are the ones that are never asked. So that's what we kind of wanted some of these shows to be, a little bit more interactive. So if something tickles your fancy or you have a comment, throw it in the chat room. Gonna try to keep the topics, you know, a little light and interesting. I'm definitely not gonna throw a bunch of politics and stuff at you. Wise man once said, you know, especially in business, you don't mess with religion or politics. And I think those are very personal to people. So I'm not going to get into depth about some of the topics, you know, around Blizzard and freedom of speech and some of that. But if you've been paying attention, you've probably seen some of the things in the news. So we'll just lightly touch on it. You know, obviously Hong Kong protesting is in the news. What's going on in China right now? You probably at least heard of it. So, you know, basically what this is about is Blizzard, which, you know, a lot of us touch, right? We're all at least familiar with World of Warcraft, or, you know, I've heard of Blizzard if you've been in the gaming world for a long time. And if you haven't, World of Warcraft is a pretty big game. Been around a long time. Massive online game. I just celebrated its 15-year anniversary, right? So it's been around a long time. There's actually 2 versions of it now. So one was recently re-released, the original version of World of Warcraft, which I was actually suckered into playing, and I actually really enjoyed. So that's called World of Warcraft Classic, World of Warcraft Classic, and now they've kind of hit that dividing line, calling the previous versions retail. So if you ever kind of hear somebody say Warcraft, or, you know, WoW Classic or WoW Retail, that's what they're kind of referring to. So there are actually 2 versions of it. I definitely wanted to play some classic. You know, I played World of Warcraft for many years. Um, I guess 6 or 7, 8 years ago now. But I definitely have a lot of time and friends, involved in that. So it was very nostalgic to jump back in and actually play some classic, which is a completely different game if you actually compare the two. So I know like Gary and you guys, play retail. If you jumped on and played classic, like it's a completely different game. Some good things I think, and some bad things, or I don't know if they're necessarily bad, but they're definitely different, you know. And that was a quest to level 60, right? The level cap in World of Warcraft is like 120 now or whatever. I mean, it's definitely, there's been so many releases of game packs since then. The game has just transformed, and these were a lot of developers, basically a lot of people decided to go ahead and release the original version of the game. It was entertaining. I was having a good time. um I decided to go ahead and boycott the Blizzard and go ahead and cancel my account around some of these comments. But basically what happened is a Hearthstone player, that plays for Blizzard professionally, was banned by Blizzard for making some comments about the Hong Kong protests in China. And I don't even think it was really, that malicious, but it spiraled into this big, huge thing. There was other things in the news too, right? The NBA, and there's just this controversy right now about freedom of speech, which I take, very seriously, right? There's a lot of other things that go along with that too. Different cultures, different governments, what we actually consider freedom of speech, and some of our freedoms that we might take for granted, right? Definitely in the West. Me sitting here broadcasting worldwide right now, right? That's a freedom that I have. I can say whatever I want on this microphone right now. Now, it might be censored through various media outlets, or make it to one part of the world and be blocked by IP, right? So that people can't see that. But that's what some of this stuff is about, right? So Blizzard took the stance, rather harshly, I thought, and banned their player and took all of his prize winnings away. I just thought it was very unfair, and it was definitely a snap decision, right? Which is not fair to take one side of, right? Because remember, Blizzard's a business, right? It's a huge corporate conglomerate. Making money is what businesses do, right? And that's what corporations do. So you can't mix business and politics, and you certainly can't mix feelings with business, right? But it was just the way this whole thing was handled that really upset me personally. And it was just that kind of week, just very tumultuous, lots of news, lots of stuff going on in the world and protesting. And it definitely, with it just being the couple of weeks I had in my personal life, and just being very, out of my normal routine, I definitely got caught up in some of it. And I don't want to say it was all bad. I did a lot of reading about, politics and things in China and stuff that, I hadn't even read in a long time. And a lot of younger generations don't even know what, the Tiananmen Square incident was, right? So the history of some of that stuff, and just, those are facts, right? That's an event that actually happened in history. That has nothing to do with politics or my personal opinion about anything, right? So it was just a lot of things that I was talking about with not only people online and media folks, but people in my personal life. So it's just been a very interesting couple of weeks, where all of this stuff kind of was tied together, right? I'm from the United States. Again, I'm not political. I've never been. I don't campaign. I don't like typecasting. I don't like politics the way they are today. I think it's a very unfair choice a lot of times for voters, right? But we all, the system is what it is, right? So if we want to make it better, we have to do that. But that's basically, you'd hope, I guess, what your democracy is. you start mixing the business part of this, though, right? You can't expect a Blizzard to do anything necessarily differently from a business standpoint. Now, again, the ban was a little harsh, right? They basically just, took the guy's career away and took all of his winnings away that he had earned, right? That had absolutely nothing to do with him maybe going against policy, right? Because I'm sure they have some sort of policy. I think I actually read that somewhere where specifically in his contract or, you know, uh, I guess, whatever he signed when he signed on with Blizzard, right? I'm sure there's some stipulation or clause, in the contract that says, you can't, there are certain things that you just can't talk about, and politics is probably one of them publicly. And again, him making a statement or tweet or whatever it was about free Hong Kong, that's basically what started the whole debate, or really ended up being a public relations nightmare for Blizzard because a lot of Western people were offended by the stance that they took, right? A lot of people that are, pro Hong Kong protesting and, if you want to call it the democracy side of it or whatever. Again, I don't want to get into the specifics of some of that, but it's definitely very controversial, right? It's stuff that, most people don't talk about. And maybe if you don't touch gaming, or if you're not even, on this same wavelength or reading these things in the news, you might not even know this really took place or is happening, right? But I think pretty much everybody in the world at least knows something's going on in Hong Kong right now, and there's protests, and it's not pretty. I hope it doesn't end up getting more ugly, right? But I was kind of shocked when, even older, I don't want to say, people, but people that I expected would have understood the history of things like Tiananmen Square and things that have happened in the past that don't, right? Or that, maybe just had kind of blinders to some of that stuff. So again, I hope, I hope the best, and I hope, these protests continue being somewhat peaceful, and I hope the best for everyone over there, on both sides of the fence, because remember, we're all humans. And that's all I care about at the end of the day. But again, there are some boundaries that were crossed here, I think, even by Blizzard as a company, who would definitely want to go after that market share in China, right? So they're going to try to follow the rules and just be as vanilla as they can, quote unquote, and make everyone happy, right? So they gotta try to kind of, play both sides of the fence, I guess, which I'm assuming what this is, kind of, trying to take some of the heat off by reducing his ban and giving him the money back, which is good. Congratulations to the people that got very active in the social media and, hashtag ban Blizzard. Because remember, guys, we can talk about that kind of stuff, right? If you really want to drive change or go against one of these, corporate conglomerates, which, the last few years I've definitely found myself steering away from wanting to support big companies like Blizzard just for stuff like this, right? Same with the NBA. I mean, these are both, American companies, right? And you can say shame on them, but again, they're companies and I expect them to do certain things. But we, as consumers, right, have the choice, right? We have voting power when it comes to these companies, and it's in your wallets, right? I can choose to give Blizzard money for World of Warcraft Classic, or I can not, and I choose not to. Again, I don't expect anybody to, make any changes or quit playing World of Warcraft just because of this or, what I've done. It was very easy for me. Remember, I hadn't played in years and years and years, and I have very limited time. So playing an MMO in general is very rough for me right now, but I really wanted to jump in there and go, blow up Molten Core and like just really kind of get that whole WoW Classic experience. And I'm not going to, but it's not the end of the world. So don't feel bad for me. But I just wanted to kind of touch on that. If you follow me on Twitter, I was ranting about that, and kind of my Twitter is like very it's got a weird mind of its own right now because I'm going in a lot of different directions. So I saw you, Frosty. I saw you jump in. How are you guys? Frosty, we gotta figure out how to make these avatars fight and do cool stuff. Because I feel like we're not getting the full experience out of these. So if you guys have any questions about, Blizzard or why I did that or um yeah, really any of that stuff. It's all on Twitter. You don't really have to look very hard. Just, go hashtag the Blizzard, either, Blizzard ban or look up any of these stories to read more about it. The NBA was kind of caught up in something similar. So that's, the National Basketball Association in the United States, but that was more, they have a huge business in China, right? And there's a couple of press conferences where things got pretty uncomfortable pretty quickly around those kind of topics. So, you know, uh, I guess that's good and bad. I'm happy to see at least, you know, some of the media being challenged and some of these large corporations being challenged for their very vanilla stances. But at the same time, again, corporations are faceless, right, and nameless, so you can't have too many expectations for them. Frosty, I got to be honest. Like it's just been a crazy couple of weeks. Stressful, intense, and those would be the kind of words that I would have to use for the last couple of weeks. But I'm doing very well, and I'm, finally kind of back into a routine. I was trying to get some stuff set up, even for the show, which I've been totally slacking on some of the things that I wanted to actually include, like soundboards and animations and stuff. But I broke a black light, trying to get this thing set up in here. Maybe we should go to the old talk show here. I broke a black light and it fell on top of my computer and shattered, right? And then it was like dust and glass all in my computer. I mean, my printer was basically toast. So that was a first. Yeah. Blacklight disaster. But we got her done. Yeah, throw some stars in there. And power supply blew up on my other little computer here. So I had to get that fixed. Really wasn't a big deal. Yay! Frosty wins. The Bitcoin candle did just close, so we'll look at that real quick. The weekly. So, things were actually looking pretty good this morning, and then of course we had a nice little sell off this afternoon and closed the weekly below our 8,500 line, which that's not what I wanted as far as being bullish. But again, it's not the end of the world. We'll have to watch this range. Uh, you know, I would have liked to have closed north of that line. So that's really all I have to say about that. If you guys want to talk about specifics on Bitcoin price action or PA, let me know. We really wanted to, this line I drew around 8,500 is that support resistance line, in my opinion. And today's candle, dipped down to, well, let's just look at it on this chart. $8,100, yeah, and then really just hit that rejection line perfectly, didn't it? That's not the hopium infusion that everyone would be looking for. If we closed north of that line, I would have been happier. We'll put it that way. So we'll just continue to watch and see what happens on this line. Maybe tomorrow morning we'll do an update and kind of see what happens. Volume dropped off too this afternoon. 24-hour volume's down 1.6 on BitMax, and open interest is 773 million. So yeah, it's kind of faded. Uh-oh. Yeah, see, I mean, you got to figure out how to duel too. But you can add gear to this thing, and I can build custom avatars with like your face on it or your, you know, whatever, really. It's pretty involved though. So let's just go through the cryptos real quick, unless anyone else wants to talk about anything else. And, fire symbols or whatever you want to look at in the chat room too. So this is kind of the line that we've been watching on the Ethereum Bitcoin chart for, well, a year. It's right there too, but it does look like, might look for more consolidation, but we'll keep our eyes on that. When it breaks that line though, that's when we're talking, we should see some shift in momentum with some of these Ethereum based coins. I would be willing to wager. Oh yeah, you might actually want to look at that, huh? See? Hello? Hello, Biff. Maybe I should back up and actually show you the damn Bitcoin chart, huh? So there's our 8,500 line. The 7,500 line is that first wave up from the dregs of 6K and below. So that's kind of our resistance point. That's the monthly line off the monthly candles. And we never quite made it down there. We made the, support around this 7,800, 7,600. It'll be interesting to see if we come back down to test that again. The 8,500 line we actually made as a midline between the 6K and 13K top. It's just mathematics. So we kind of took the second top. Or was it just these two? Let's see here. Yeah. So that 8,500 line or 8,475 that I was kind of using for a go or no go line, looks like it kicked off that, used it as resistance. It's definitely did not turn that into support. So the 9,600 line, the 7,400 line, and then the 8,500 lines right in the middle, the smack dab. So that's when we're looking at mean reversion. I've been using this super cool new indicator that was given to me by Storm Crypto. If you follow him on Twitter. If you don't, you should, if you're into that sort of thing. Called the unnormalized implicit momentum, which on the daily chart. Oh, hello. Thank you for cheering, Bits. Frosty. Ooh, I like that music. I need to get the bits built into these two tabs here, so that'll be on my list too. Writing this stuff down. Thank you very much. So anyway, yeah, this was the daily candle today, which kissed that line again and then sunk back down to 8,100 this afternoon, and we closed right around here today. So, here's our daily candle where it's starting today, right around 8,200. is what it is, guys. You know, I'm not gonna pretend that that looks great, right? It's probably gonna come back down to do some sort of test again. Will it find support here? You know, 7,700 line. Will it come up and test this line again? We'll just have to wait and see. And I will definitely throw some updates when we do see something change. So Ethereum, Bitcoin, again, the line that's been here since February of 28, January 2018. This is what obviously affects a lot of our Ethereum based altcoin. And it's right there on the line. I mean, look at that sucker. So close, but does look like it's, you know, well, I don't know. The indicator oscillator says we still have momentum up. We'll see if it can break that trend line. And if it does, things I think will start to get more interesting. So a lot of this stuff is tied to that, including the engine that we're watching. Still pretty much the same. The USD price hasn't really changed either. Been hovering around that 6 cents. We're calling 7 cents this support resistance line. All kinds of cool stuff on the engine marketplace, which we will look at here in a minute. Referium still hovering around that 9/1000th, or wait, 9/10,000th, whatever the hell that number is in US dollars. Let's go look at the Bitcoin chart. So so this is Referium Bitcoin, and as you can see, this line is 0, and here's where it's at. So there's not a whole lot of room to the downside, right? I mean, that's all. Is that good news? What's up, Dilemma? How are you? How are you, sir? Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. Oh, BNB did kind of make a nice run up. We'll keep an eye on that, but I'm not messing with any BNB right now. Other than messing around with the free stuff I'm getting. I'm not actually trading BAT. Speaking of dilemma, let's look at the dilemma coin. Oh, look at that run up just to make people mad. But is that the, you know, the double top here, and then we're gonna go back down? Ew, that thing really shot up, didn't it? Again, if you're not familiar with Link, this is, I mean, other than BNB, right? In 2019, this has to be one of the top performing, if not the top performing altcoin. So Link don't go down. It just gets stronger. So we'll definitely keep an eye on it, man. That was a one hell of a move up the last few days. Probably draw a line down here too, right? Maybe that's like a giant wedge. Yeah. I don't even think we're. I mean, other than this, I don't even think you'd really need to do any real indicators on that. So the question becomes, is it going to make some new highs, right? Um, if you're looking to get into this thing, right, you're just kind of looking to see if it's going to hit these levels at this point. I mean, you can see it's trading way above its trend line on the US dollar still. What did we draw these lines at? Like $2 you said, and then $1.50 is where it found support on the USD line. So Dilemma says load up at $2, I bet. If it comes back down. Yeah. 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 Anything else you want me to throw on that while you're looking at that? Throw a guppy on there. There's some of this other stuff. I mean, I've seen worse looking charts, man, and I've been looking at all kinds of poo-poo the last few days. That's definitely an upper echelon, at least in popularity. So when you're dealing with altcoins, that's it's definitely something you're looking for, right? Popularity, hype. Oops. It's clearly still, an uptrend looking chart with a weekly guppy. Let's see what the daily looks like. And there's your dip back above it. Let's see what maybe like a moving average. Looks good too. Chad. I was just dialing up. I was just polishing my crystal ball for you, Chad. What the hell are you doing up, man? You're like, isn't it like 4 in the morning or something? Let's see, we got the EMEA. I got the EMEA on here. Are you drunk, Chad? You can tell me. Have you been drinking today? You like 70 EMEA on your 4-hour chart. Ooh. Ooh. Yeah. How are you, Chad? Tell me a story, Chad. How was your day, Chad? You doing any trading, Chad? Are you messing with any altcoins? Interesting how pretty much traded above, traded below, below. I mean, now it's just on that parabolic stuff. We'll see what catches up and bounces off the EMEA. That'd actually probably be a good one to watch on that. Just throw the EMEA on F. Oh, oh God. Right? Oh, okay. Working your ass off. In other words, hustling. it could be this and then like more consolidation. Or it actually could be, at least testing some of that stuff. We'll just have to watch, guys. I have to think though, if Ethereum starts making some sort of run, it would at least chip into the Bitcoin dominance a little bit. And then some of these altcoins might move, but I don't know. Excellent. See, the problem with all that is, right, everyone keeps saying alt season, or like they want to see this big influx of money come in, or at least all this tether come off the sidelines and people start taking long positions. But again, I think it's gonna take some sort of like actual market sentiment change, which is still, I mean, some of these coins are actually moving. I mean, we can go look at even, let's go look at Crypto Watch. The last 7 days, like Matic has moved 50%. Chainlink is up 16%. BNB is up 20%. I mean, it's like crypto Twitter is still a ghost town. I don't really know anything about some of these, but stuff's definitely, at least moving for the positive side. Okay. Yeah, great. Absolutely. Anything like that, I'm happy to help out in. We haven't talked about Compound Bot much, but Compound Bot's basically trying to bail itself out of water right now. So I got drawn down, 20, 25%, I guess. But it's actually done, again, a very good job. I mean, even at this 8,000 level, it's actually trading back in the positive. So, it does a good job of deleveraging. It just, that comes at a cost. But any questions about any of that stuff, I'm happy to talk about it, guys. So, we pride ourselves on being 100% transparent on that project. Oh, yeah, duh. We definitely need to talk about 0x. My liquidation price on my big account is 59.64 right now. So guys, basically what that means is, I have a robot that trades on BitMEX all the time and it's trading Bitcoin 24/7, 365 days a year right now. Well, we haven't actually done it for a whole year. It's a pioneer project, but actually have position sizes that are still been open since we were at 12K. And the bot basically will, take small positions on the way down and try to deleverage its price. So we still have a sizable position open, and it's a long bot, so it's trying to compound small wins over time. But yeah, it's the liquidation price for that entire position right now is hovering around 5,900 on Bitcoin. So if this thing were to crash below this 5,800 line quickly, we might be in trouble, or well, not in trouble per se, but you definitely might want to take some sort of other position or means to counter that, like a short position to at least limit some of the damage. Get rid of our email here. Yeah, I would just open a 1-to-1 short if something crazy happened, but I don't think we'll ever, need to do that. Knock on wood. Right. Hopefully we never have to deal with something like that. This is the greatest test for that compound bot though. I mean, this is a huge drawdown right here, and that's what it's basically trying to deal with right now, this drop. 4 hours, we can look at just a super trend. RSI is usually what I like to look at for reversals as well. A little bigger. So this is actually a good illustration. So we'll zoom in on the 4-hour price action. This is Coinbase Bitcoin. And this is basically a two-part indicator. So the average true range is the line you see, the red line and the green line. And the middle line is actually the relative strength index. So you can kind of see where your price is trading versus that. And this isn't, I guess, the greatest, setup for this, but you can definitely see where this price action is actually touched and honored and staying green, interestingly enough, on the 4-hour ATR. So that's actually, as far as just pure indicators go, I mean, it's an indication that it's an upward trend. Because it's so close and, price action is so, compressed here and clearly was rejected around this 8,500 line, I wouldn't be, in any hurry to go long here, but it's still above the line. That's trading above the ATR line right now. Barely. I mean, it's like right there. So, if this flips below here and starts trading below this line, it'll flip red. And that's what these are. Yeah, it's funny. Everybody wanted more risk, and then we had this huge drop off, and everyone got drawn down. They were like, yeah, maybe not so much. I'm the same way. I mean, we get greedy. We had several months of just really perfect conditions for that bot too. And then things got really choppy really fast. And, that's just tough for anything like that to handle. What else did we want to look at? Was there anything else we wanted to throw at the Bitcoin chart while we're here? I haven't really zoomed out to look at anything in a while, but I don't think we need to because it's really short term right now that everyone's looking at. Yeah, kind of a decision moment here around this line. All right, moving right along. So we said, obviously this is going to have a major impact on a lot of things that are tied to Ethereum, Engine being one of them, which hasn't really moved much, still kind of hovering around that line. Yeah, man. And again, as soon as I get that earlier time slot and we figure out when we can get some more traffic and get a couple of us on a phone call, I'll definitely let you know, Chad. And I appreciate you joining. And always nice to chat with you. And I'm looking forward to growing this out, but I'm in no hurry. So don't feel rushed into anything. I appreciate you jumping in. I'll try to make a tweet when I jump on too. But I'm gonna do it, random days and random times too. So I appreciate, any sort of feedback or participation, obviously, and your opinion as well, Chad, because I like reading your stuff, and getting your opinions and definitely some of your trading aspects. And you're just at Ronald McDonald on Twitter, right? Throw you a shout out. That's Ched on Twitter, guys, if you want to follow him. So great trader, very knowledgeable crypto guy in all kinds of projects, and a personal friend of mine. So someone I just met, like a lot of you guys, through social currencies, right? Bitcoin, video games. I mean, it's what it's all about, right? Yes. Yes. That's what it's all about. Meeting people. Yeah, the Illuminati is what it's all about. Again, though, thank you. I appreciate it, man. All aboard. I'll call Ched part of the Goldman Sachs crew.
All aboard!
Pull up the marketplace real quick, too. Oops. So if you haven't checked this out, here it is, guys. It's what we've been talking about for a while. The engine marketplace. So you can throw in forgotten artifacts that I am playing. And we'll talk about, you know, the actual loots, but you can literally see all of the assets under forgotten artifacts out on the Engine X platform. And I mean, this is the Inferno. Like, I have one of these. So if you're looking at the holders, I mean, this is the Block Explorer. I mean, this is so cool. And I'm one of these wallets. You know, I have one of these. So you can actually look to see what it's going for on the marketplace right now. I could sell my Inferno. I could, you know, trade it for 350 ENG worth of something, right? ENG is trading at 6.5 cents right now. So you can kind of do the math. Some of these transcendent items are going for like 10,000 ENG. I don't even know if that's really for sale or not, but that would be like $600, you know, US. A lot of money. Now these are extremely rare. You can see there's only 13 people that have even come across these. So, and there's only 15 total. So there's only 2 left in the dungeon. So I better get cracking. What that is. So those have, you know, when those are gone, they're gone. They won't be replenished, which is kind of the cool part of Forgotten Artifacts too, if you're playing that. And if you're not, you should check it out, because like we were talking about before, we should be supporting indie developers and people that are breaking free from the corporate chains and bondage and going out there and trying to do their own thing. So I'm all about that. Damn it. Skipping over Bat, unless anybody wants to look at it. We already looked at Link. Still, you know, I'm still going to call that an uptrend until it's not. But, you know, these are the kind of double tops, I guess, just from a pure TA standpoint, you want to at least be conscious of. But again, you know, I mean, if you're looking for things in an altcoin, it's definitely popular. It has a pretty impressive resume of like references, and really all you need is Google on there, right? So name association. But you know, it's popular and people are into it, holding it, trading it, whatever. It's definitely got a very high trading volume. You can see, I mean, it's been consistently top 10, top 20 for several weeks as far as trading volume goes. And that's what you want. You want liquidity. You want people to feel comfortable about getting in and out. And obviously you want it to be going up if you're holding it going long. So we will keep an eye on it. ZRX is the one that has been making some moves recently. I did trade this quite a bit in March when I was actually messing with some of these. Got caught some of that stuff, which was pretty nice. And this is when I pretty much abandoned ship on all my altcoins. But don't be afraid to do that either. You know, you don't owe these things anything. You don't owe them allegiance. And if you feel like you know, it's time to trade out for something else, or take a position in USD, or, you know, have your stops, right? There's nothing wrong with that. At the same time, anytime you're trying to play market reversals, or you think maybe, now might be the time to take a little risk, it's okay to be a little bit more greedy. So it kind of depends on your own trading plan and risk appetite. But if you don't know what that is, you should before you just start throwing money at these things. So this is a range that we kind of named a while ago, between 21 cents and 40 cents US on ZRX, and it did trade below it for a while, but has caught a nice bounce back up to what I would consider the mean of that range, which it was. So that's pretty classic mean reversion, quote unquote. Let's pull up the BTC version of that if we have it, which I have actually not looked at. So this is one of those really interesting charts. And while I'm just charting stuff, I tried to make sense out of this chart for a long time. And I know some really good traders that have really been following this and hammering it for a long time. Someone who definitely helped me out. So ZRX, and ZRX is the actual symbol, is it's basically a design around Ethereum scalability and transferring in and out of smart contracts is the kind of summary for it. So it would definitely be tied to, I would think, the Ethereum market. But it's this really weird chart. It's a pattern that's very unique, which leads me to believe that there's something special about it. Again, I don't know what that is, or if it's a worthwhile investment play. But clearly, we made some sort of support at this line, around 4,600, and this is against Bitcoin, and it dropped below it, right? So it created resistance out of that support line, which we'll have to watch on the way back up. But clearly, moving back up the last month. I mean, that's September, October on weekly candles. It's a pretty nice reversal of this trend. We can draw a lot of other lines, but you can just clearly see that, right? You don't really need to get too in depth in it. So almost a full retrace, I guess, from the original lows of, whenever this was several years ago, or pre-2018, at least on this chart. This would be Binance, so that's probably when it was listed on Binance. Now, I guess we could, draw some sort of trend line this way. See what it looks like. But again, this is one I don't know. Lines just don't really make sense, because ideally on a trend line like this, especially one this old on a weekly, you'd want it to touch your price action in several places. So even that line doesn't really make that much sense to me. You'd want something more like this, right? I don't know. Again, I haven't really been able to draw any patterns on this one. We can definitely throw some indicators at it, see what it looks like. So this is just a daily chart against Bitcoin. You can see, since it, made whatever this either bottom or shelf is, clearly our oscillator has turned into a bullish trend, right? And this is our implicit momentum, which is basically taking into account, mean reversion, like we've been talking about. So it's taking a range, which I'm assuming is probably this range here that we actually have marked, right? And now we're actually trading above the midpoint of that. Could be bullish. We'll keep an eye on that one as well. It's definitely a move up, in the right direction. So if you're bullish or taking some sort of long standpoint on ZRX or wanted to get into that. What is interesting though is, It's May high. Oh, that's a quite a bit. That's almost 80%, just at one of these, local tops. So it's definitely got some room. Anything else about that you guys wanted to talk about? Go back to the USD chart. Ripple. Making some moves recently, but nothing life-changing yet. Nothing earth-shattering yet. Check the weekly. It's positive. So the UIM, the implicit momentum doesn't it doesn't look as good on a higher time frame like this, but it really looks nice when you're looking at zoomed in stuff. So the last the 23rd. So the last month or so, trend looks up, right? And we'll just have to watch it and see if that continues. Again, though, if you're like looking for alt season or that's what you're shopping for, the last one was pretty crazy, and I wasn't doing like I was doing a lot of catch up, just trying to learn a lot of stuff, even at the 2017 run. But I saw, a lot of that, and I was trying to figure out how to trade some of the things that I was mining at that time, which was really interesting. But when these things really start running, it won't. We'll all know about it. You know what I mean? Like it'll start really blowing up, and it was like it wasn't 50% moves, right? It was like 50% moves were like daily for every coin for several weeks. It was absolute insanity. Some of the runs some of these things went on. So I think that's going to require either a lot more consolidation from a lot of these coins that shouldn't even be listed anymore, that are just total vaporware or scams, or some sort of major news event or something to really kind of change the sentiment. Even now, when things are seem to be kind of changing some of their trends, the sentiment just doesn't seem really good. So a lot of psychology goes into that. People have been watching Digibyte too. So that's another one that seems to at least caught some sort of local bottom here on the Bitcoin chart. It's the daily. The Doge, maybe, had a good couple of days, couple spikes in price. Ravencoin had a very nice run up too as well. So last, again, almost it seems like that September 25th date very correlated on these things. Change in trend, right? At least broke this high. It's not a terrible looking chart. We'll leave that. So some optimism, right? A little bit at least. It's something. A lot of it's going to depend on the old king, though. What happens here? And again, if I had to make a call, I'd probably say more testing of this line. before we go up. But it seems like anytime Bitcoin makes some major move, it usually fakes the other way first. And that's probably not a coincidence either, right? So I'd expect, I mean, I definitely expect a test of this 8,500 line before it would continue up and go test this 9,600 range again. Short term. There was some good news Friday too. So we talked about the backed launch and the futures launch in Bitcoin being very just flat, and I mean, people were labeling it a failure like the very first day. It did have a spike in volume. I think they were saying a couple 100%, but it was like a couple 100% above very little at all. So again, I think it was a couple hundred Bitcoin traded on Friday on the backed futures. It's still not very much, but it's something, right? It's positive news. So we'll take whatever we can get on Bitcoin right now. I looked at a ton of traditional, market stuff this week. If there's any symbols or stocks that you guys want to look at, I can definitely throw those up. I know I've been rambling on here for a while too, so maybe now's a good time to just stop here and take a breath. If I've bored you guys to death or put you to sleep. But those are the things I at least wanted to capture, go through. I know those are the things that I've been receiving requests on, stuff that we've been tracking. So we'll continue to do so. Other just companies. Been watching Twitter. Twitter stock in an uptrend. And Square, that is looking like it's going to test some of the lower parts of the ranges. So we're going to keep an eye on that one. Facebook has not been doing so well as far as the chart goes. So the news on Facebook is some of the major players in Libra have pulled out of that project because they're a little worried about not only legal implications, but it looks like U.S. politicians are actually starting to put some heat on some of those people. Again, that's getting into some of those topics about corporations and how things work, and people don't want to ruffle feathers, right? Especially when they're making money and things are good, right? Why would they want to buck the system if they're part of 100 billion, companies that are worth hundreds of billions of dollars, right? But it was some of the major ones like Visa and PayPal have actually pulled out of that project, stating that all of the liability ends up on people in that Libra association, not Facebook, and they're right? That's how a lot of that was drawn up. So Libra in some trouble. Facebook, I don't know. I personally have an opinion about Facebook, but if you're talking like pure stock price, it's tough to say. We can go draw lines on this thing all you want, but at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to a lot of other things that may not be an evaluation of a stock. But there's not a lot of really good news around it, and it does kind of look like a double top. So if the stock price actually breaks that 160, I'd be looking for more downside. Man, there's just all kinds of bad publicity stuff about Zuckerberg and his privacy issues, and then all of a sudden they decided to release this Libra coin and basically slap everyone in the United States government in the face and go against the Federal Reserve. And then it sounds like the project was pretty poorly put together. So I don't know. I don't know anything about the inner workings of who's doing what or how things are actually working right now at Facebook, but it sounds like they definitely have some issues with their controls, right? They're not doing a good job of governing themselves internally, and that usually spills out, into the public in one way or another. And it might be a kind of an example of them monetizing and growing too quickly too. business controls and all that boring stuff, right? Governance, compliance. Think, that stuff's not fun in business, but it's absolutely necessary to run successful businesses. Blizzard. So Activision Blizzard. I should have started off with that one, right? Because that's what we were actually talking about. That's the Activision Blizzard chart. US dollars topped out at $84 a share October last year. Took a huge nosedive. There was a lot of stuff in the news and has since leveled out and started to return back to the middle of this range between the low and the high, which it currently tested and bounced down off of. So these are weekly candles. And now it's got some controversy in the media, right? So not that that means much anymore. Things are so computer traded and algorithmically traded, even on the stock exchanges. And I just don't think stuff like that affects stock price as much anymore as market share does, and, popularity of this release that they had. And, WoW Classic definitely caught some subscriptions and pumped their numbers and looked really good for a while. So this backlash, might already even be priced into this price. I don't know, but we'll keep an eye on it. That's definitely something relevant to gaming, and a lot of us are, at least involved with Activision or touching some sort of Blizzard game in one way or another, and they have a lot more than just World of Warcraft. So, any questions about that or that chart, or why I'd even be looking at that, right? Because if you don't hold stock or have an investment account or are interested in that, why would you be? But right, some people are interested in that, and or interested in holding something like that long term if it's going to be a play. Might not necessarily be a bad one either. I don't have any personal opinion on that. I'm not holding any Activision or anything like that. I'm just purely looking at these charts and trends. So, this is one that I would be holding off on, I should say, especially given the stuff in the news, until we kind of see how this resolves itself. Probably do something like that. Kind of see how it reacts off that $57 price and what actually happens in the next couple of weeks. I was looking to enter some sort of position on that. But, again, trading news and short-term trading stocks on stuff like that on traditional markets, it's rough. It's really hit or miss. It's tough to trade fundamentals anymore at all, in my opinion. And that was really it. That was really it I had on the list. And that's what I got. See if we got anything on Twitter. It's the Blizzard chart that I wasn't showing you and just talking through again. All right. I got this strobe light too. Dug it out of the closet. I'll have to see how it actually looks, but I don't want to give anybody seizures. And I'm almost on the hour, which is usually when I try to stop rambling. So play a little music here and let me know if there's anything else that you guys would like to look at or talk about or chat about. Appreciate those retweets and stuff, guys. I mean, again, you know, I'm very humbled because, you know, I've met so many people, especially recently, and since I've, you know, jumped onto Twitch and been doing some of this other stuff that's outside my comfort zone, it's just been really refreshing. And, you know, like all of you guys, obviously, you know, everybody that's in here and all the people that I've met, and, you know, both sides, the gaming side, the crypto side, it's just been, it's been really awesome. And I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your support. I appreciate learning from all of you. We were even talking about that, or, you know, chatting about that last week. Like, it's interesting because I don't trust the media anymore at all, right? I don't trust anything that I see on TV. I don't trust anybody's bullshit. I trust people that I know, or people that don't really have an interest in something that I'm, you know, might be asking them about, right? And those are your peers, right? Those are your friends, your colleagues, your family, people that you trust, people that you have relationships with, people that you've built relationships with on common ground, right? Or at least not based on personal interests necessarily. So it's been my pleasure, you know, to kind of meet people that are in that similar situation, right? Where they really have no bias. And, you know, those are the people that I like getting information from. Those are my peers. Those are your peers, right? Peer-to-peer transactions. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're interested in when it comes to paying somebody directly. Payment systems, cryptocurrency, you know, Bitcoin, that's all tied together. The video gaming aspect of it, I think, is just going to continue to trend in the future, and get more popular and become more robust. How that ends up looking or working will end up, you know, time will only tell. But we were talking about technologies that might be important in the future, right? And esports, social media, well, those are definitely on the list, right? Along with a lot of other things that we can brainstorm about on some other day. But it's things that we need to start thinking about. And I think that the groundwork is already there, right? Like, for instance, electric automobiles, right? Clean energy. Those are things that we know that we need, right? But there are things that are in the way of adopting technology and, or, you know, moving forward with some of the development of that technology, most of which is money, right? Old money, old thinking, old ideals, lobbyists, right? Special interests, all tied into how the systems work in the United States as well as the world today, right? It's all corporatism. It's all tied together, right? Banks, private interests, private equity. It's huge. It's this huge, giant machine. And, you know, I've made like Matrix references to it, right? The pure, horrifying precision of it, right? But again, I can't stress this enough, right? You don't have to go out there and be an activist. You don't have to, you know, revolt or incite or do anything crazy. But you do have a vote, right? In any corporation or taking part in anything, and it's in your wallet. And if you choose not to associate with that brand or that company, or, you know, you don't give them money, that's your vote, right? So you do have a say, and a lot of people do, and I think they have more power than they think. But you know, maybe you just haven't thought about it in that perspective. So that's a good note to end on. Again, thank you guys very much for joining. I appreciate all of your support. I appreciate all of you guys. Appreciate the feedback. You know, let me know how I can make things more interactive. But I have a lot of ideas, about things that I want to include in the show and things that are interesting to me. And actually got out on the racetrack and tried to incorporate some of that. So I'm going to be sharing a lot of things that I'm just interested in. We'll go, way beyond gaming and markets and all that stuff. So look forward to it. Again, thank you for joining me. We'll see you next time. Thanks for getting biffed. Thanks for joining me. Have a great evening, everybody. I appreciate it. Or a great day or a great afternoon, depending on where you're in the world. Give yourself a little applause. We made it through another week, and I look forward to next week and sharing that and seeing what comes along, right? Take care, everybody. Have a good night.